Welcome to the New World Order. First off, I am Jay. Secondly, I'd like to gladly announce we are no longer anonymous, but a worldwide coalition of like-minded individuals. In the following proceedings, note anyone and everybody who claims authority can only deny these statements and allegations with no backing, which by default would make them a liar in their entirety, and therefore unanimously guilty by definition, unless they admit the truth, which should indicate to you, the citizens of the world at large, this here is a trial in the Refurbished court of law. Justice is what we have all been seeking, I'm sure. I am but here to represent the movement, as we are all equals by definition, different but yet the same via the shared humanity. There is going to no longer be a new president. Time for holding those titles and accolades, such as that, are over. No, instead there will be a Supreme Council of elite representatives to ensure democracy is forever carried out the way it should have always been done. Henceforth, following these proceedings, I will name those who I wish to have join me as representatives on the Supreme Council. As such, these very gifted and highly educated individuals will be allowed to do the same, or in place of themselves, offer suggestions of those they would like to carry out the role that we all must play in restoring liberty, freedom, and justice to everyone. It's global citizens. It's not just about the United States anymore. The platform to this shall be carried out via radio stations, which I have already put in mind and will mention near the end of the trial. Anyway, the best place to begin, as anything, is always at the beginning, which technically has been hundreds of years in the making, as corruption, greed, and capitalism has existed since the dawn of time. It has always been survival of the fittest. Unfortunately for the dictators that want to believe them to be some kind of a leader in the world today, I evolved quicker than all of them combined. I may only be 21 years old, may have never, been able to get past the 10th grade. But simple fact of the matter is, this has all been their doing. And me, well, I'm just not in their lane. No, I'm far ahead of anything they got going on, both before and after them. It's almost like I've been doing some serious fucking time traveling. They thrive on the internal destruction of free minds. And the fact of the matter is, we all have the capacity to have that mentality. Everything capable of doing is committing atrocity after hate crime after atrocity, and vice versa. The laws they have lobbied are designed to enslave minimalists 99% and ensure they maintain the power trip in which they hold. But the reality is, together, everyone combined, we are that majority. And therefore, your elitist group, the wealthiest and most affluent 1%, have become the minority. And those found guilty throughout this engagement will be made to pay the price, not with their lives, but with their bank accounts. The wealth they so readily hoard, as if there wasn't enough for everyone, has become the majority's. That, in and of itself, should be enough reason to pursue thinking, worth listening till the end of this. Demonstration of real power and activism. For me, story began roughly about 100 years ago, being a byproduct of cloning, genetic engineering, brainwashing, many decades of what should definitely be considered illegal and definitely unethical biological experimentations, and finally had enough of this shit. Enough to put everything on the line, putting my freedom on the line. Not that I was ever really free, well, not until today. So that anyone and everyone may have a luxury that should just be a given birthright to all citizens of Earth and the universe at large. But also subliminally, so I may regain what they have stolen from me. And it isn't even about breaking even. It's about reclaiming my livelihood, dignity, respect, faith in our shared humanity. The fact of the matter is, aliens, extraterrestrial beings, exist and have been imprisoned amongst us on Earth for many, many years, possibly even centuries or even longer. Pay very close attention to the fact that there are laws that allow the government to hide its dealings for upwards of 25 years without even having to disclose a damn thing. Thing is, government always had possessed technology of minimum 70 years more advanced than the general public has ever seen or witnessed before in plain sight. As an example, the United States of America has patents on the Ebola virus, which, according to the internet and most Wikipedia pages, were similar, was first discovered in 1976 in Zaire, Rwanda, when really it was, engineered in a laboratory long prior to this, and was designed as a method of population control, as well as a scare tactic, designed to control and flock populations to do as the corrupt governments of the world saw fit. In whichever particular instance, because there has been many of such occasions, the same thing goes for diseases such as HIV or AIDS, cancer, and among other things, all other illnesses, to my knowledge, and that statement there is designed to test them. These are some very serious allegations I am making, but they are true in their entirety. And the only thing they can really do is either deny them or try to place it on something else. The point I am making is always question the truth when it comes to anything the president, prime minister, otherwise of any given country on our planet has to say. Making noise pushes them out into the open and forces them into being honest. If I were to put myself into the position of any given world leader, either present time frame or as an example, the early 20th century, it would be my aim to create an escape route or backdoors for any given scare tactic or tool in case natural selection took over and over-accelerated its evolution and plummeted the world into a worldwide pandemic or depression, or worked better than it was designed to do. The fact is, freedom of speech is severely restricted in our day and age, and it is the government's aim to keep us living in fear, as money is all that matters to them, and lives, when it isn't in their best interest, are irrelevant to them. The internet, as an example, has been monitored since the day of its inception. 365 days a year, 24/7, around the clock. Same things with all the forms of technology, social media, be it landline or cellular devices. Fact of the matter is, as I type the shit, they've been monitoring me. And they can all go fuck themselves if they hate this, because they aren't stopping it. It's too late. I told them to expect us, and they never did. And we never forget, and we most certainly aren't about to forgive them for all the unrighteous and fucked up shit they try to pull. It's just not going to fly anymore. No one and everyone involved in the global crime conglomerate that is the government will be held to the full extent of the Refurbished Court of Law, which will need to be passed by the general consensus of the world population. I feel like a 75% vote should be required to make these long-lasting changes, because then at least the majority of everyone is happy, and even if it doesn't really pertain to specific demographics, it isn't something apt to digress them from their quality of life, which means they should still be voting anyway. In fact, I feel like voting should be mandatory. The reason behind should is to keep everything as democratic as possible. The age of voting should be 21, although technically, even those who are younger could still make an impact, because it is never wise to underestimate the intellects and creativity of younger minds. This, too, is something that will need to be negotiated upon. Being young and reckless, determined, and willing to do whatever it takes to persevere. Technically, I should have been dead before I even got here, because that's what it is, and that in itself is another topic we shall need to discuss. Debates are always open and never to take place behind the seclusion of closed doors, because those who remain righteous, humble, and honest shouldn't ever have anything to really worry about. And that is what I am all for. And as for second chances, well, that is another concept to take into consideration. Judgment is never the answer. However, in keeping things peaceful, lawful, and as democratic as possible, it is a necessary measure to ensure all citizens of Earth can become law-abiding. I feel the death sentence should be abolished and instead replaced with punishments that, always will fit the crime and in nature are probably going to be considered extremely harsh, but always fitting, depending on those who are attending trial. As an alien hybrid society, telepathy and mind reading ought to be used to determine the intention of those facing sentencing. Often, evil actions are apt and necessary to ensure the best possible future and outcomes of our species at large, but only when done with the best intentions at mind, heart, and even on a cellular level. Being futuristic and more advanced, it is absolutely both unnecessary and uncalled for to call for arms, as violence is never, if rarely, the answer to go about answering the conundrums we face. In 99% of all possible circumstances, situations or scenarios, as played out in my mind, can be vastly avoided. Nearly just nicked a World War III. It's a very cruel and cold universe out there, and it is always in my nature to expect the unexpected because that's part of the nature of humanity. No one really wants to see succeed at anything, as often the success of our own endeavors outweigh by far humanity in its entirety. The thing that is exactly what we don't need or even really want, there are beyond infinite amount of resources, more than enough to satiate needs of every man, woman, and child within our societies, when used responsibly and as intended, and that shit is forever. So it's an end to the greed and overzealous capitalism exhibited by all global earthly governments. Everyone can possess more than infinite wealth in order to experience a rich existence, both in terms of the mere materialistic as well as in terms of physical, emotional, psychological, and even spiritual well-being. We call that peace of mind, ladies and gentlemen, very important, and as such, things like the drug trade will become entirely regulated in our new world order. The same goes for the sex trade, which would include everything between pornography, those that enjoy escorting, prostitution, and stripping. Drugs, when used properly, pose no real risk for addiction, mental instabilities, or problematic, even violent behaviors, especially when designed with a designated medicinal property that essentially can be said for all drugs. Basically only using them for an actual purpose, outside of the recreational, not just something to bust out that euphoria for the fuck of it, but actually increase intelligence, artistic abilities, mind expansion, and also sensory ranges. Anything between something as innate and minor as alcohol, marijuana, or nicotine, in comparison to the most extreme and almost always hardcore synthetic drugs, as being anything from uppers, downers, and so forth, with going into too much detail. This is probably pretty obvious. That would be the drug trade. And as far as the platform it could be carried out on, I'd say it'd be most prudent to eliminate Big Pharma from the equation and make it semi-independent, so that anyone, as long as they were to get registered, are able to have a side hustle that is perfectly acceptable and with the limits of the new laws. Pharmacies would possibly be allowed to remain, depending on the polls. But the thing is, with the way I feel about it, people like more personal relationships. It's definitely a lot easier to trust someone you know and deal with on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, or whatever the case might be, than it is to deal with a corporation that most likely really doesn't even give a flying fuck about you, and is only concerned with end meets, which in my opinion would be malpractice. Could care less about sales, which aren't good for developing long-term friendly relationships that allow for repeatable business with no real consequences for the way that they might treat you or make you feel as a result of their actions. Personally, I only like feeling good, and pretty sure that's pretty much everyone else feel about that. Best cure for depression, always be around positive vibes whenever the fuck it's possible. Nigga, please, it's always doable to do that. So that's that, and then moving on to your sex trade, it's always been the women that made the shit go round, and as such, I feel like the seasoned veterans of the porn industry should have the monopoly of how everything is said and done. They know their shit, and it should probably be more fun for them than it is for anyone else. Because being the case, it's an incentive for them, because they know if they enjoy what they're doing, the person on the receiving end is always down to have just as much fun as they are having. Because it's vividly visible and easy to tell just by reading the signs and witnessing everything that's going on there. As for, I already said that. Anyway, moving on. People fuck more than anyone on the planet, which makes them the foremost experts on the sex trade. I think it should be down to them to set your margins, however flexible they would want those to be. Technically, I feel it should always be down to your, escort, whether that's a male or female doing it, but I don't feel like I should get the final say on that. Even though I'm about my business, I'll never sell out, so I'm not selling my ass. It kind of mitigates my opinion and makes it almost negligible in the final decision, which is still up for debate. And, they're going to be grabbing that by the ass. As for porn or whatever sexual services they want to bring to the table, when it's all said and done, they get to dictate how they get to get down. It shouldn't even really be up to the customer. However, bear in mind, they'll usually be down for anything for the right individual. You treat them good, be trustworthy, don't do anything stupid or uncalled for, and that's how it's probably going to go down. As for speech, I use mine freely as fuck, and I feel everyone else should too. Just be smart about what you're saying, no matter how controversial it may be. You don't really have time for ignorant shit. And as far as the offensive shit I sway, well, look at it like this. Women know their nature, right? So can't really get mad at words like hoe, whore, bitch, cunt, and so forth. Actually, in the correct context, all them things and slurs come strengths, and they love being complimented non-stop. Also, bear in mind, things like STDs don't even really exist anymore. As time passes, everyone will become indoctrinated. The antivirus for those. Stop all this madness and rule out scare tactics. Therefore, fucking raw isn't even a remote issue, because there's really no risks that are involved anymore. And that, son, is what Plan B is for. And worst case, there's always abortions. Mind, me personally, I don't really like being, person to see people wasting life, because even an embryo has feelings. So gotta try to treat it with some love and respect. So, if she tells you not to come inside her, then by all means, don't fucking do it. It's simple, really. Because them being who they are, and the super bad bitches, they never forget those things, and probably will never let you live it down, and or maybe even never pleasure you that way again. Same can be said for all of their friends, because they always talk to each other. And men quite literally need to be able to fuck something daily. So that's pretty serious if you fuck it up. And, as far as anyone, in my opinion, would rather fuck if they had the option of doing that over masturbating. Thing is, gene disparity is a great thing. So for me, it's an example of me being me. Passing those genes to as many bitches as possible is actually a very important thing for the advancement of civilization. But in the same route, I wouldn't do it if the wifey wasn't cool with it. Mind, there's always ways around that. So it's called you involve her in everything I'm doing. And that way she doesn't really get over jealous. If anything, it'd be them that gets jealous. And at the same time, I'm only doing what's comfortable for me, and also anyone else involved in the acts. Probably pretty fucked up, but I'm much more diverse than most people, so try not to judge me too much. I'm a lot to take, and you being you, whoever you might be, probably aren't going to want the kind of static to me and the family would bring should you overstep those boundaries. And, pushed us to that shit, right? Never really even been a gangster until I graduated to one. And nigger, I'm at the top of my fucking class. So haters can eat a fat dick. Also, that said, I feel it's important to say it's because I love them, and that's why I do what I do. Even if they may not understand it at this very moment, but this transparency makes everything and anything, irrespective of the topic, makes it a lot less taboo. Infinitely so. And therefore easier to talk about, and also to educate the youth, which makes the lives of all the parents easier than ever before because, I'm doing most of the work for them anyway. That said, next order of business would have to be the era of education. In our future, I feel as a one-world government should be provided to our future leaders free of charge, as long as they're willing to work their asses off for that investment. That's probably all that needs to be said on that note. I would like to bring up the talk of space travel, expansion of the galaxy, and also concepts of immortality for those who have been most beneficial to the progression of our culture at large. It's one of them things very much controversial in nature. See, is only God really ought to control life and death. But as an advocate on his behalf, he or she, however you view God, or whether you even believe in the concept of a God or not, the point is we wouldn't have the capacity to create those things if we as a people weren't meant or allowed to have those things. For those who are and have already been proven guilty of lengthy hate crimes, basically treason against the New World Order, they will be required to invest as much of themselves as I have into the fruition of these goals. That will substantially absolve them of any sins they have ever committed, as they no longer are working against me, but with me, not for me, but with me, because it's as much for me as it is for them, and any of you, motherfuckers. We are limited to what we know now, but things have a very almost magical and often mystical way of jumping to light speed travel when we are able to concentrate our efforts into one common goal, which is what I'm all about. Any and all questions or inquiries people may have will be answered as soon as it is convenient for me. My platform has always been with and of artistic expression. Probably many things to a lot of people, although I'm hardly a politician. It's not really my gig, but for now, it's the decided platform for altruistic realism. No longer the dreamer people wanting make me out to be, but an idealist and always been keeping it 1,000, so you know what to expect, and people really aren't surprised with that. Maybe before it wasn't expected, but the time for illusions is over. And at least that is my hope. Because the thing with hope is it can be very dangerous to indulge too much into wishful thinking, and therefore I just do the best that I can with what I have. Not quite perfect, but almost am. And that said, with all the modesty I have within me, I don't feel like there has been a time when I haven't been more humble than I am being right now. Which feels fucking awesome. It's fucking phenomenal even. But people are probably going to think I'm coming off as cocky, even though this is all for their own benefit anyway. Let them hate. Not waiting around anymore, sitting on my ass, letting it happen. That makes all the difference in our world, right there, then and now, right here. Fact is, the only thing Mr. Trump can do is lie, try to phase out of the media, internet, and public debate, and therefore my first act as a representative of the New World Order is to make all these new laws he is creating under investigation in order to decide whether they're actually in our best interests as a people, or simply to endorse what he's attempting to accomplish under his reign of retail fraud. See, the thing is, he hasn't really changed an inch. Regardless of what it looks like, he's simply trying to create the illusion I so effortlessly have maintained my entire life, without ever having to really lie about anything. Fact of the matter is, he can't withdraw these documents. Only thing he can do is fraud them upon the act of it. Just to clarify, in case he attempts to twist those words on me, I'm talking about him. It's beyond public knowledge he is a racist, bigot, rapist, and also in conjunction with the Illuminati. an organized criminal syndicate designed to hide the everyday criminal dealings of our worldwide criminal conglomerate. The entire time I've been working on this speech, he has had his people peeping in on me, which is a big no-no, saying, as a citizen of Earth, depend some sense of privacy. When those boundaries get crossed, I'd fight to the death, metaphorically speaking, to have my freedoms. Probably even literally, but the only thing he can do is make false statements and allegations. So the fact is, it was always an inside job that they have been pulling, not necessarily because they wanted to, but because it had to be done for the sake of humanity, which under all other rulers has been fleeting for quite some time now. And it is my duty and forthright obligation to ensure that it never, ever, ever, ever has to happen again in history. And again, let me enlighten you here. I am only talking about the government when I say that, because it is a corporation, a business, and evil only ever really has been evil, which is for specific celebrities such as Eminem, Slaughterhouse, a vast array of porn stars, Christy Mack, Lisa Ann, Stoya, Cora Peters, Joanna Angel, Asa Akira, Lily Blue, Skylar Madison, Brie Olson, Ashley Fires, Tori Lux, and Amber Rain. You kind of forget other important influences like Mr. Sway Calloway, Dr. Dre, Anderson .Paak, Skylar Grey, The Suicide Squad, SDK, Baxter, Strange Music Incorporated, Shia LaBeouf, Tracy G, Kelly Kincaid, everyone at Shady and Interscope, Snow the Product, A Tribe Called Quest, and last but not least, all my unknown alien brothers and sisters. To lie for them in order to maintain the lifestyles they have so loved and enjoyed. Now, the reason all these people are so important is because they represent what I represent, which is equality. A lot of it, like people such as James Dean, for example, much like Mr. Trump, has really only been in it for his own self-gain without any real regard or care of anyone other than themselves. As of this moment, as I just reaffirmed, his net worth, according to the internet, is valued at $1 million US, which kind of sounds fishy to me. It sounds like fraud or embezzlement of all kinds. He's hiding money, which is exactly what them people are best at doing. And last checked at roughly 4:11, Central Standard Time on November 11th, or actually, no, sorry, November 17th, 2016, just in case they try to hide, alter, or change the important facts of the interweb. Before I'm able to say this, seriously, he has a very highlighted career in porn. Pretty amazing resume. Not like I care. Having some 33 nominations at the Adult Video Awards in a year, winning 2 of such of those accolades. Again, it's irrelevant to me. I don't really give a fuck, but matters because it's factual. And for the sake of the debate, it's utter importance. Bitch has made some 2,000 odd films, has had deals with a multitude of directors, executives, and businessmen within the porn industry. He runs his own fucking business and websites, which he is probably jokingly or not so much alleged to have put up for sale, so he could write memes for Obama and Biden all day for the remainder of his existence. He also seems to be jealous of me, which is hilarious. I'm some broke-ass, white-ass piece of shit, really. And I've got to say that with pride, because that's who I am right now. I kind of love that he doubts me. It's making me moist. And all this is taking place on his Twitter page. Should he try and erase it, go check it out. Fact is, the internet is an illusion in its own right. What with VPNs and all kinds of bullshit. And again, it's meant to hide the shady business they go up and do on the daily. Porn is definitely a shady business. My business is definitely what I would consider to be shady business, but it's all done in search of the truth and exposing things for what they are. Only ever tried to really straight shoot, attempting to give those who possess a voice but are fearful and haven't really spoken to the full extent that they probably should have, in my opinion at least, You know, you gotta understand that nothing has really ever been done for me. I had to do this all on my own, nor do I expect to change that now. Support is always great, but sometimes silence is simply the best applause there is, and I am always silent when I applaud them. Also, James, understand something real quick. Tupac and Biggie are living inside me, so man, did they fuck me? No. It's for real. A test tube reincarnation of many rappers. Also, an alien human hybrid, impervious to serious disease or illness. Only shit you can really do is be sarcastic. You know, whack dick, because it's not cool, bro. So, can't really beat me when I try to do the same shit you do before you can even comprehend that it's being done. So, is it possible? No. Whether it is or isn't, it's happening, so suck on it pretty hard. But that doesn't make him gay. No, he's bisexual and not even really interested in you, so it must be about dominance or something. It's power. So, does it mean I'd ever do it in real life, though? No. You only do things when they're consensual, whether it's spoken or not. And that's the thing. When there is no verbal agreement and they're grinding the fuck on you, what does it mean? It means they probably want to get in your pants. They want you bad. And if they didn't, they'd tell you. So, therefore, in the case of someone like Skylar Madison, probably maybe has some fear in her heart, even though she has really nothing to fear. The women always tend to keep it real with each other. Hustle is out there, right? It's real. So they got to keep their own kind safe. Irregardless, maybe she acted on her own or maybe she didn't. It's speculation. It doesn't really fucking matter. The point is, she likes your resume. It's going to look good for her. So, irrespective, if she really wanted to fuck you or not, I don't care. Point is, she would do what any working girl would have done in her position. She's telling you pretty much probably what you want to hear in order to get you, because that's what they do to a man that deserves it. They'll hustle you for your money from beneath your nose when you don't even really expect it. And sometimes they might make a mistake, but they usually don't. They're almost never wrong, really, but there's always opportunities for error. Except me, I try to be the exception to that. Everything I do is planned, even all the mistakes I've made throughout this entire speech, stumbling on words and shit. And therefore, I out-hustle anyone trying to hustle me, forever trying to maintain that 2 steps ahead competition lead. Does that make me a criminal? Nah. What it does make me, though, is an individual willing to go to any and whatever lengths in order to secure his survival and obtain his freedom. In order to win against seasoned criminals, you have to put yourself in the shoes of a seasoned criminal. It was only ever done out of necessity, being Christopher Wallace in the flesh, and part of me anyway. But everything about me, what makes me beautiful. It's taken my entire lifespan up until this point to really learn how to love myself properly, and I'm still learning how to do that. And, am I a legend, or is it just some kind of false statement? Or, maybe if you really think that, go have a re-listen. The campaign speech that was dropped. I know you know what the truth is. Don't delude yourself any further. Learn to forgive yourself. It's no real all-out clamp on what is or is, feminine. People confident in themselves can accept themselves for them and realize that they have some of, each quality. It's necessary in order to be able to love yourself. You've got to do that before you can love anyone else anyway. So we're just letting you know, because I never really wanted to hurt you, but sometimes maybe you need to be pushed within an inch of death to stimulate the change. It's how muscles grow. And, it is what it is. Maybe I don't even really care, but at the same time, try to make people the best they can be. It's the same thing with maybe Carly Gray. She probably knows that I know that she knows how the business works. You know, you trying to be me, playing innocent, isn't going to change what has already taken place. And that, madame, you know. Anyway, that's all I really feel about that. The vlog, the cipher coming out very soon. Sometime probably this weekend. But wait, I can't rap, right? If I'm stumbling on words and shit and I can't seem to focus, then clearly there must be something really fucking wrong with me. Deluding myself. Oh, damn. That's a shock. um, anyway, does anyone have any questions about this, or what else do I have to do in order to murder things? Prove I can rap. Well, it's just the cipher at this point. And, you know, seeing as you know where I am, because you forever stalk me like freaks, you probably need to stay the fuck away from me. That's just about everyone, really. Save the guy who's sleeping in the room over there. You know, almost forgot. Say, I live my life on my own terms, which means I really only ever do what I want when I want, and not what anyone else wants when they want it. It's something else to remember. Also got to mention people like Elliot Hulse. I've got a lot of respect for that guy. Tons, really. He's a king, man. Couldn't have pulled it together without him. Get through this. Also, Missy Elliott. So, it's another one. And then we got to shout out the big homie Logic, who has been a great help as well. Anyway, that's all we got to share at this moment. And hopefully I didn't go over what I can record. It's 36 minutes. Holy shit. No wonder. Anyway.